go to Hoima, ng'oyina helmet, ng'oyina black assault, ng'oyina Bible. Gaganga bamukuba abaana. Gaganga bamukuba abaana nga bamuli bubi. Ngamba
Hater.
Not necessarily hater. Then wabadde ne wicket keeper naye nga gloves ayina. Zine ebituli.
The only painful thing for me is always that ginger trip is so hectic. You have to wake up very early in the morning, and by the time you get there, it just sort of disorganizes. When you don't win, that the loss is so painful. The drive back is so painful. So,
did you have any conversations in the car when you returned?
Davis is the one who kept bringing it up, but we tried to talk about other things just to make sure we get back to Kampala as quickly as possible.
Were you driving or you gave up the duties?
No, I just sat back and
I was certain that was the safe option.
Wallowing in my pain.
That was the safe option.
But I thought I was a hardy guy until yesterday.
You see, Dennis, when you have some knowledge of the game, especially at a player level, when you played, and you're seeing a current player making something that you feel should be easy look difficult, it is different. It's a different kind of feel, especially when you're putting in the money. Akasente kagenda, mwana chakola, I can do that. By the way, I at some point I thought you would put on that jersey when you brought it up. You went to the car and picked the jersey.
No. It's the result sometimes is not painful for me. I think it's just a process. As long as you put in an effort. We've gone to Ginger and lost many games, but you come away, very happy, still in good mood. But when the process is also missing, that is sort of the energy sucker. So.
You talk about the process.
Franklin wants to start the show on a very poor note. I need energy. I need energy from the producer too.
You talk about the process. I'm thinking your next opponents.
And our next opponent is the defending champion of the league. So clearly, we are not. Our losing streak is not about to end because we've lost 2 on the bounce.
You've given up so early.
Yeah, for a team that finished as high as second, the highs of last year were very high. And the lows of this low are really low. So
they have started very early.
Yeah, but I think we'll. But next weekend, most certainly, I am playing. I'm going to force the captain to put me on the list.
Mugaga has to get his will.
Not the Mugaga has to will. I feel I can make a contribution that is worthwhile. Maybe I can lift up the spirits of the guys when for us to get off the mark.
Your biggest scores have been in Ginger, and not playing was a bit shocking.
Yeah, Entebbe has also not been a very poor hunting ground for me. I have some good memories there, so I'm hoping for some deja vu.
Especially after the work you put in during the week in the nets.
Exactly. So
should have
some to trust myself and see if we can be able to do something for the team. But welcome on to another weekly episode of the Weekly Wowos. Franklin trying to start me off on a low note, but I've taken enough glucose to make sure that the Weekly Wowos is alive and kicking and very, very well. As usual, I'm your weekly host, Dennis Musali, and this week I have Joseph Mahomes, our resident rugby expert, and Franklin Kawowo, who's editor at Kawowo Sports. Yep. A lot of stuff to talk about this week, but we are most certainly going to talk a lot about rugby and basketball. We have sort of packed football a little bit. Some of our fans were complaining that you guys, that's another football show. Yeah. You're not fair to us. So we have packed football for but it will come up somewhere. But for now, we want to talk about rugby and basketball. A lot of things happening in that world. Of course, I'm sure Franklin will find time to fit in a hurting defeat for Wanderers on the road. But I will not allow him. I am the host of this show. There's no democracy when I'm hosting. But as usual, we want to start off the week. I'm going to start with Joseph. Joseph, your starter for the week.
Thank you very much, Dennis. For me, my starter of the week was that game that happened at Chadondo on Friday. between the Heathens who hosted the Pirates. It ended 17-12. But my main pick out from that game was the performance of Frank Chidega, and he rightfully so won the man of the match accolade. Why I pick him as my starter of the week is that initially he wasn't even supposed to play that game. He wasn't on the team sheet. There's a young man called Patrick Mantovo that was on that team sheet.
What
and Chidega came in and he delivered. That's what happened. So you don't really ask what happened
for example,
before when it works out.
Yeah. For example, I'll tell you in cricket, if sort of we present a team list and then we realize how we've forgotten Joseph's name on the team list. You speak to the captain of the opposite team and you sort of, if he agrees for you to make the change, you can make the change. If he does it, you sort of continue playing. So it happened to us sometime when we were playing a certain team in Budo, and I missed out someone on the team list. So I wanted to bench one of the guys because he had come in not a very good state. So in my head, I'm like, no, I'm removing Franklin now to replace him with Joseph. The other team is like, no changing the team. Once you've handed in the team, there's no changing. Well, anyway, we were resigned to our own fate. Things happen, and in the end, the guy wanted to replace. He's the one he won the game for us. So how does it happen? Why wasn't he on the original team list, or it was just a tactical switch?
I think Pirates is suffering from having very many players at the moment, so they have a lot to select from. And when they pick a certain team, and maybe the coach realizes last minute that they need to make a tactical change in there, they can always do that. And given that this was a Friday game, usually rugby is played on a Saturday, and given that this was a Friday game and team sheets came out as late as Friday morning of that very game day,
so you're allowed to change your team sheet?
Yes, you can always change the team that you're going to play with. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Maybe you was trying to catch the guys offside.
It was a social media team list, not the actual official team list. There was always going to be a change. I mean, especially when you're playing against tested players.
Yeah.
Always want to put your best foot forward away from home. And also knowing you're going to be battling against what people call the Chad refs.
Hey,
I don't know why he's pointing at me.
The officiation has been a talking point for rugby throughout the whole season.
I think sport.
But anyway, for sport in general, I think that's an area that maybe because of the margins in winning and how important it is to win these days, you don't give the officials enough grace that they can also make mistakes, the same way players do. So scrutiny is high on them. But I'm sure Joseph is coming up with a lot more rugby than his starter of the week. Franklin, where do you want to go?
My starter, I think...
Not Ginger.
It certainly can't be Ginger.
We'll switch off.
My starter is Jacobo Kiprimo. This boy was born a road runner. I've always believed that he's a better road runner than track, if I may put it that way. And what a way to make your debut in a marathon. It doesn't come that often that a person is going to make their debut, and on their debut they are finishing second, and actually going toe to toe with the renowned marathon runners already. You know, I mean, going into that race, he was going against guys who have been running sub 2 hours 5 minutes. I mean, in the top, the race had nearly 10 guys who had run a marathon earlier before in like 2 hours and 5 minutes or less. You're talking Kipchoge, you're talking Mengecha, you're talking Kiplagat of Kenya, Mohamed Essa. These are renowned marathon runners, and if you're debuting against the best marathoners at the time, you always know it is going to be a tough time that you're going to have. But obviously the conditions in London, I think, were perfect for running. There was not a lot of wind, and knowing that, knowing that Kiplimo is a natural road runner, there was always going to be a chance, but it was going to be challenging. I did not actually expect for him actually to even be among the top 5. I was a bit shocked that he
There's a frame our producer had shared there, and if you check it out, they was standing up amongst the guys, the best guys you've mentioned, and the caption in that photo, that particular image, you see the legend Eliud Kipchoge. The caption on that image was that pick your winner for the London Marathon. So maybe clearly he was one of the guys they anticipated that would
yes,
do well.
he's a renowned athlete. Of course, he's a special athlete, if I may put it that way, long distance runner. But you're running for the first time in that event, okay? At that stage, it is always going to be challenging. And never mind, you have won the World Half Marathon before, but I mean, you're putting another extra 21 kilometers for what you're used to. And for me, that was extremely impressive. And what was even more impressive is that he ran it at a national record.
Yeah.
You know, how do you debut and crash a national record? You know, there's running a marathon, and then there's running 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That is work. And I think, if anything, we could have a marathon medal very soon, either at the World Championships or at the Olympics. I mean, with that pace, this boy is up to something.
Frankly, they are running out of superlatives for Jacob Kipilomo. But when I was watching the highlights yesterday, in my head I kept thinking of the things I could do in 2 hours. And guys spend actually just running. So those are superhuman people who do that.
And you see the way he started is that, but they were running at a very terrific speed for a marathon, and the way he managed to stay within the top 10 throughout the race. I mean, before Sawi broke away, I think in the 30th kilometer or 31st kilometer, before he broke away, just Kiplimo kept himself within the pack. And the moment Sawi broke away, he also started breaking away from the rest of the pack. And for me, that was very, very impressive. I think he's a guy who calculates his races so well, paces them so well within his abilities, and when he chooses to attack, you know that is it.
Yeah, amazing stuff there from Jacob Kiplimo on his debut at the London Marathon. For him finishing second. First, I mean, if you also finish against a legend like Eliud Kipchoge, that it should sort of inspire you and give you some confidence going into the future. And also picked up a good paycheck. If I saw the numbers very well, URA also must be saying, must be licking their lips, because they picked up some good quid for finishing second in that marathon.
Why URA still taxes sports car money? And you say you're about promoting sports.
It's a whole conversation for another day. But that same weekend as well, the legend Joshua Kiptegei winning somewhere in Bengaluru. Maybe just to mention that Joshua winning. I don't know why he wasn't in the London Marathon.
A 10-kilometer race. You don't run marathons so fast. In section, you can run like 2 in a year.
I know. So I think they recommended 6 months every after one marathon.
Yes. And he ran the Derry Half Marathon, I think. I mean the Tokyo Marathon. It's not even 6 months yet. Yeah. So I don't think he would go there again.
Okay, Joshua was doing well, winning in Bengaluru, India. Not a known place for running, but
I think Cheptegei likes running India. I think he enjoys running in India. I mean, his real first break on the road was in India.
Does this mean that Kiplimo won't go back on the track, or because the world championships play this year?
Yeah, he can. He can. And
he's still a very young man.
24.
Only 24.
24 years.
He will. He will definitely will.
I'm sure there is an Olympic medal, even a world championship medal in Jacob Kiplimo. Yeah. And he certainly looks like our hope now on the track, given that Kiptegei is sort of moving away from the track.
Has moved away, not sort of. He announced he's moving away from the track.
Okay, he sort of moved away. So Jacob Kiplimo, very well done from him, and Joshua Kiptegei, the both of them winning. Jacob keep finishing second, and Joshua winning in Bengaluru, India. For me, my starter will be, we shall have 2 Ugandans in the finals of the CAF competitions this year. Mukwala for Simba when they will take on RS Bekane Bekan in the final of the CAF Confederations Cup.
Yeah.
And of course, our very own, a very good friend of Kawowo Sports, Dennis Onyango, namesake. We do the same things. Keeper.
Dennis, don't associate yourself with the best. Okay.
We both have safe hands. Are you arguing, Kaweru?
You should have used those hands yesterday.
But Dennis Onyango and the Sundowns are managing to go past a very, very big team and away from home. El Ahly are a monster in Cairo, but somehow managing to get a good result that has assured that they will be able to qualify for the Champions League final when they'll be taking on another Egyptian team in Pyramids. Amazing stuff from both those two. My interest was really the Ugandan connection, and Mukwala has also done well in that tournament. He's scored a couple of goals for Simba. Onyango, of course, sometimes has to share the role with Ron Williams, but I mean, he's part of the setup anyway at Sundowns. So Sundowns and Simba, we have representation. We are being nationalistic today by making sure that we speak about our own. But Franklin, what do you think are the chances of either of them, Simba against Bekane and Pyramids and Sundowns?
For Simba, I think this is the best opportunity for them to win a continental trophy, especially that they are playing the return leg of the final at home. And it is hard to play at the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium. All sorts of things are going to happen, especially when you're an away team. Yes, you know, it is hard to play in North Africa, but they have also complained about playing in Tanzania. You know, and you want to believe that in that, if they can go to Bakan and get a result there, you can almost be certain that they can hold their own in Dar es Salaam and get their first trophy of the continent.
Yeah, Joseph, just to finish with you, these CAF competitions very, very dominated by the North Africans. Okay, you call them North Africans, but sometimes I think they want to be part of Europe.
Arabs.
Yeah, the North Africans, and you feel that maybe you want to change that trend by having someone from East Africa and then South Africa winning. Because even in the semifinals, they had as many as 3 teams, I think, in the semifinals. Would it be a good thing just for optics? You know, how you want to have a different champion just for optics, but you really have to be the best for you to win.
And you know, the advantage with this matchup is that we have Onyango in that fixture. Onyango has been at that level. He has played at that level. He has won trophies at that level. And they face a pyramid side from Egypt that I think they can comfortably get a result from in that final. So I can't wait to see what happens.
I don't know if it is a commercial thing for the final to be a two-legged affair. Usually a final should be shootout, and for Africa the away goals rules still stand. So I do not know whether it is just commercial that you get some money when you host your own final, and then you also get some money.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is commercial. I mean, movement in Africa is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult to have, say, a neutral venue where you think Mamelodi fans can fly there, or Simba fans can fly, or Pyramids fans can fly there. So I think what the CAF tries to do is to try and give an opportunity for all fans, or both sets of fans, to have a feel of their team playing in front of them. You know, I mean, if just going to Rwanda, if you're using KQ, you're first going to Nairobi and then come back to Rwanda, where you would have gone for 45 minutes, going to spend more than that. And you know, aviation in Africa is what makes it hard to have a one-off final.
I feel it takes away you see sort of the Champions League is the road to Berlin.
Yes.
It should be, if let's say the road to Kampala, road to Nambole, and then you sort of galvanize all the conversations around that, and then you build up to something that maybe that motivates the Ugandan teams to do better. You know, that sort of the logistical part is understandable, but it shouldn't stop you from trying to do the right stuff.
That is the ideal, but how do you get fans into the stadiums, for example, I mean fans of these clubs into the stadiums, do you provide incentives for them to travel? Do you
When the Vipers played in the Champions League against the Moroccan team was called what? I think Raja.
Yes.
There were quite a number of Moroccan fans who came to St. Mary's Kitende. I think they filled up part of that whole section they normally give to the away team.
Yeah.
That whole part was totally packed. And after the game when they were leaving, actually I saw some of them getting into normal taxis. So probably they just either they found a way or they had a local connect or there's a whole community here. I do not know. But they showed up.
And the other way, how many Vipers fans went for the return leg? And so, I mean, the consideration, ideally it should be a one-off final.
Yeah.
That is the most ideal and should be the most enticing. But, I mean, for you would understand the CAF decision to have, the final played on over 2 legs. Like, let both sets of fans have an opportunity to their team.
Probably the rugby also copied from there, the sort of knockout style they've been able to bring. But we'll dive straight into the rugby now and speak about an eventful weekend of the semi-finals. One of the things, and I want to ask Joseph, why Friday? We as cricket, we struggle to even play on Saturday because, no, I can't get off work. So that's why we actually play our league games on Sundays. We've given up on the faith. And we made sure that is a day we can use for cricket. But why Friday? Is it a new thing or it's sort of a trend that they want to build on and usher you into the weekend? Because I passed by Chadi on Saturday and it was so quiet and calm, like nothing is going to happen here today.
You say, first of all, that Saturday it may be to the detriment of the players because some of them may be employed somewhere and therefore have to seek special permission from their employers. But for the fans, I think it is a master stroke because Franklin can testify he was in Jinja on Saturday, and I'm very sure he saw very many Pirates fans who had gone to hate watch on the Cobs who had traveled there. So it gives an opportunity. So it gives an opportunity for the fans to watch at least 2 competitive games on 2 consecutive days, which wouldn't be the case if at all they were all played on the same day.
How does it affect for the players? If you had your full time at Kawowo 9 to 5, how does it work for their players who work in banks and other different organizations? Does that affect them in a way, or you have to show up?
First of all, the kickoff is at 4 p.m. Otherwise, you risk losing light later on in such a contact sport. Yeah, but for the players, they would have, first of all, to seek that special permission to leave their home. Then they would have lesser days in the week to train because they obviously are engaged elsewhere in this amateur sport. They have work. So if at all you train Monday, Wednesday, then you have to play on that Friday. You've already lost an extra training day. So that also affects the players. But for the fans, whoever checked in at Chadondo, we were very surprised at the numbers that were there. I think our producer is showing us that other view where there are no bleachers and there are extra chairs for people who couldn't find space in the bleachers.
Then you see, the thing with sportsmen and women in an amateur setting is that you have to choose your hustle, if I may put it that way. If you're lucky enough to have a boss who understands that, look, if I'm not working, then I'm playing sport at a semi-pro or whatever level that is, you're going to have no problems in trying to seek that permission that, look, on Friday we have a game, so I'm going to work half day and then I need to go.
4 p.m. kickoff for me, I feel that you need to kill the whole Friday. You need to check in maybe at 2 p.m.
Preparation. Typical preparation for rugby player should be about 2 hours. Maybe 2 hours.
You know, if you're, let's say, hustling in Entebbe, if your hustle is in Entebbe,
then you'd have to adjust accordingly.
You have to adjust
because
basically you just say Friday.
It's done.
Boss, please, just I beg. Maybe I'll make up for lost time on Saturday, because then you don't want to. You say you want to leave work at midday. As you're walking out, some guys like, man, Joseph, this urgent.
My report.
Hey, first time you report.
Oh yes.
So you get to the game on a border, you're stressed border, you climbing over pavements and things like that. So for you to be in the sort of right state of mind for a semi-final game against a very big team, you sort of have to say, you know what, Friday, I'll sleep in.
So ideally, you need at least 2 hours before the kickoff to just get in the right headspace. Then you also have to like do your personal warm-up because you're the one who knows what your body can do. Then you have to go into, there is a team talk that follows. Then there is strapping up. You know, those niggles and everywhere, those joints, you have to strap up those areas. Then you have to do the team warm up, and by the time the 2 hours elapse, then you're ready for the game. But if you're going to leave work at exactly 2 p.m., then go through the hustle and bustle of Kampala to get to Chadondo, and then you have to play at 4 p.m., it's a bit tight.
Yeah, these are the things, Franklin.
I think the bottom
this
line
is what our sport needs. Those games on Friday, Saturday. That's how we shall get fans.
Yeah, exactly. You look, if you're looking at it from the fans' perspective, it is extremely.
The fan won't complain.
It's a masterpiece. That is
my convenience was my convenience was only my concern actually was just the players.
Yeah, but from a fans' perspective, it is as that. But I think if anything, teams they do some teams I know for sure they do help. Their players kind of secure work. I mean workplaces. They help you get work, and when they do that, usually is that the communication is that look, we have this guy working here, but he's also our player, so we'll be requiring him on such and such days, and that kind of stuff. So they kind of negotiate with the employers a little bit of leniency with that player. And obviously during that time it's when some of this schedule is shared with their workplaces.
I've been in a workplace where we really had a big team, especially from cricket, working with us.
Yes.
And one of the challenge when you overly do it, then the other guys start to
What about
Franklin all the time with him, rugby. So even when the guy comes back, guys are looking at him like this, either they left your pile of clothes to wash and things like that. So
Dennis, interestingly, about 2 seasons ago, when the mighty Impis was still in the top flight, it is very mighty. So 2 seasons ago, when the mighty Impis was still in the league and we were playing the home and away format, we happened to play Pirates on. We played Pirates on a Saturday, and on Wednesday it was Women's Day, 8th match. So we played Heathens on 8th match, then played Cobs on Saturday. The 3 giants in 1 week. No surprises in what result we got from all those fixtures. But it isn't new to put games on those given days when games can be played.
Yeah, I mean,
when Joseph talks about the mighty Impis, you may think it is
arrogance, personified.
I mean, Kakira is coming in the playoffs for promotion.
They told us Kakira has a tongue and about 10 Kenyans.
Be ready with the arrogance. Since your arrogance is going to work.
But I'm the league misses Impis, and I hope they can be able to come back. But let's talk about the game itself. Home advantage didn't count for Heathens. Pirates, the Sea Robbers coming in there and taking the advantage. 17-12 was the final result. Joseph and Franklin, you're the experts, but I'll start with Joseph. Talk us through this game. What happened?
So the game, when the game started, first of all, Heathens began on the back foot. It was a Pirates kickoff. Pirates kicked off to the wing, and Roy Chizito collected it straight off that kickoff, and that's when I knew it was going to be a very long day for the Heathens. However, the Heathens managed to recover in those first 20 minutes. They even had a try by Nicholas Kato. He has made that his signature try of catching defenses napping, and they are offside. They obviously can't tackle him because then that's a card, and he goes through, especially when he's within that try about 5 meters or in the 22. But Heathens, what I noted is that they went off script. Originally they were doing one thing, is that we are not going to play in our 22. When they get the ball, Aaron Ofoeroth was always booting it over, and then even though they weren't regathering their own balls, it was quite uncomfortable for the Pirates, who now have to regather, then set up again. Then it goes back into Heathens' possessions, and Heathens tells them, have the ball, again and again and again, and it seemed to work. Then they abandoned it. They also tried to play the fancy rugby that is manufactured in Boyogere, but of course not with the artillery that you have at Chadondo. Then Pirates came back through a Chisiga try, a beautiful try. They went ahead, of course, in the break, and when they came back in the second half, Pirates were still in control. They made some valuable substitutions in there to reinforce those packs. And when after that water break, when Heathens decided to go back to the original game plan of we are not playing from this side, we are going to squeeze you in your own half, then they started piling that pressure. They got a try through Shadon Monoko, who was a very good substitute on the day, who contained the Pirates forwards, those big boys of Emong and whatnot. So I think it was a game where Heathens needed to stick to their game plan of we shall play from your side, we shall always boot it away, we shall not play from our half, because at the moment we do not have the facilities to in terms of the manpower. So I feel like the second leg, we shall not see a comeback, but it will be an interesting game.
We'll go to Franklin. Wet ball, you always remind us about the wet ball. Was that an issue for the two teams handling? We've just seen one pass going wayward there from Heathens. But was it a factor? And there were some I think Pirates guys, when they win, they're always very loud on social media. There were some issues where they were showing images of guys as if sailing. But was the wet ball an issue in this particular game?
Coming to this game, I think one
try by Heathens, but
one of the things that was always going to be an issue is the state of the pitch of Chadondo. Remember, it had rained, I think, 2 days earlier, and Chadondo takes a little bit long to dry up, and so obviously, knowing Chadondo, it was always going to be challenging to play. Little surprised that obviously some wood powder was poured in certain areas of the ground. The ground was always going to be heavy, so there was not going to be a chance of playing smooth, expansive rugby. It was always going to be rugby played with the forwards, and that change that had the Gazelles come back in, I think it was a matter of looking at the state of the ground, like this rugby is going to be played by forwards most of the time. It's not going to be rugby that is going to be free-flowing or free rugby that Pirates usually play. And obviously, Heathens, knowing that they are going to be under pressure for most of the time, they did not want to have that pressure in their own half. And I was not particularly, to be honest, I was not particularly impressed with the kind of kicking that they were kicking, because they were not kicking in gaps. Pirates, like I think Cobbs, are very good at fielding, and when you have Haruna, you have Kisiga, and Roy. At times, these are guys who are really good at fielding, and they have the rugby brain of anticipating where the kick is going to go and that kind of stuff. So when Joseph talks about how Heathens went off their plan, is that most of the balls that we're putting up were being collected quite easily, and within seconds, the Pirates were always back in your red zone, and it is hard to play rugby on the back foot. You know, how hard it was for Heathens to play is that they got to a point of where they had to concede multiple penalties in their 5 and got a yellow card. That is because of the mesh pressure that was applied by Pirates. But for a pitch that was as heavy as Chadondo was on Friday, it was always going to be difficult to play expansive rugby.
That incident that you highlight, after the game, I talked to Coach Marvin, and that interview is up on Kawowo. I asked him, you guys spent about 5 minutes to 10 minutes in the Heathens 5. You had 3 scrums. They had the yellow card. You called for another 2 scrums, and all you left was with 3 points after putting in all those efforts. And he said that is something they're going to clean up on during the week, and come Saturday, we should expect something different from the Pirates.
All right, Pirates taking the advantage to, I was going to say QPA, but no, the Pirates taking the advantage of Kings Park Arena. One word from you guys: can Heathens overturn that advantage? Yes or no only. I'm putting you on the spot. This is what Kai likes.
No. I mean, for me, I already said it. I think on our previous shows that I'll be
You've
extremely
mentioned your
shocked.
champion before.
Yes, I'll be extremely shocked if Heathens can progress from this tie. So I don't see anything changing at Kings Park.
Joseph, yes or no?
For me, a yes is not enough. I reckon that game at Kings Park Arena is going to end plus 12 points for the Pirates at halftime. Plus 12 for Pirates at halftime.
Guys have chosen their side.
Heathens are not
Michael,
going
make
to be
sure
happy.
you clip this out for future purposes. But Pirates with the advantage as they go to Kings Park Arena this weekend.
But also in going into that game, I think the concern for Marvin should be Conrad Wanyama's box kicks. I don't think Wanyama's box kicks, or the two that he attempted to put up, were that good against Heathens. And they have not been that smooth, by the way, all season. Actually, from the Africa Cup last year, Wanyama's box kicks sometimes, for lack of a better word, tezina mulamwa.
A very
That
small
is the
man.
whole phrase.
Yeah, very small man, Conrad, but he really.
But of course, when
plays with his heart on the
when
sleeve
they are
for
when they are
Pirates.
humming, they are really dangerous. But I would prefer if it is Nkore putting them up. If there is a little bit of a swap, and whether you have Magomo on and then Nkore goes to 9 or something like that. Of course, Buju is an experienced guy, a slow
an old school
scrummer,
scrum
but I mean, if you have William at 9 and then Magomo at 12, maybe.
All right, we'll wait and see what happens. And of course, Joseph and the rest of the crew will bring you all the updates from the Kings Park Arena and try and see if Heathens can go. The last time they played, that's the game I watched. The only game I've watched this season, the game that happened at Kings Park between Heathens, who were really in charge before, of course, how things happened.
That's how the
Hopefully-
problem. That's where I find the problem with Joseph saying that Heathens don't have the resources. By the way,
They were leading for as many as 23
Heathens'
points in that
backline
game.
is not that bad. When you have Okenyi on the right, you have Otemo on the left, you have Ojo, you have Malcolm, you have Gokro. Okay, the 12 is shaky where they put Trevor Chan or whoever, but I think Heathens' backline is fine. Just that I don't think they
Sneaky
have,
feeling that they could go there and hurt Pirates, but you just never know. I'm not an expert at rugby. I'm just a big fan. and
Given you're
follower.
wearing your Heathen meaning, we understand.
But we'll wait and see, and Joseph and the rest of the guys will make sure we bring you all those updates from Kings Park Arena. Let's talk about the other semi-final that happened in Jinja, where Franklin was before I don't know why he decided to stay, but Cobbs on the road to Jinja, and of course visiting Hippos. They come away with a 3-point advantage going into the second round, or the second leg that will be happening at Legends. That game, Cobbs versus Hippos. Hippos have been very, very, very good this season, and especially at home. But Cobbs edging them. Cobbs has made it a habit of winning those breaking hearts and winning at the last minute. I don't know how much when you do that for so long, you get to the final when you've run out of all your luck. But Cobbs are going to Jinja and picking up a result. Let me start with Franklin, who was there. How did they do it?
I think one thing with Cobbs, and it has shown all season, is that they are patient throughout the game. They are not going to rush their offense. They are not going to rush their attack. They are patient. I think they have gotten to a point where even if their opponents are leading by a 20-point margin, they still believe that they can get something out of that game with low, patient phase play build-up and all that. But going into this game, I had already mentioned earlier that it is going to be very tight because of the nature and how Hippos plays, especially at home. And of course, Hippos at home, it's a small ground. They're always going to start on the offense, and they did that. They managed the game so well in the first half, got the points on the board, while Cobbs were still figuring out how to get into the game. Actually, the entire first half, I thought for Cobs not having Joseph Aredo was going to be a problem, and indeed it was. I'm one of those people who believe that James Ijong at this point in time he's a part-time rugby player, if I may put it that way. And that is not to take away how good Ijong was during his early days in rugby. But over the past 2-3 years, I feel Ijong is a little bit off. He's, again, for the lack of a better word, a part-time rugby player. And he was tasked with creating for the team as a number 10. And he was not doing that so well in that first half. I thought he was being outlet by Waswa in all facets of what a number 10 should be doing. And that lead for Hippos must have sent some message that, look, a shock might be on the table. Obviously, we knew going to that game that Cobs are going a strong side and all that, but for them it was about management. And once they started getting points, the most important point I think was that kick from Jala Sempeke to put them on the board in the first half. It was so important for them to be on the board because they had tried the normal phase plan that they were not getting because of the solid defense that Hippos plays, and getting the points on the board in the first half was the game changer. And in the second half, as I said earlier, Ijo is, that it got to a point where they had to, I think the final 20-15 minutes, Ian Munyani had to go into the number 10 role just to make sure that attack is moving. And for me, that is where I think Hippos still stand a chance in this side. Never mind they're coming to Legends, and I know that.
Yeah, frankly, you've hijacked my question, but I was going to ask Joseph that Hippos I don't think they should feel like 3 points is too much. It's enough for them to try and make something out of the second leg at Legends. Do you think that can happen?
Yeah, I think anything can still happen in that evenly matched fixture. I caught the last glimpses of that game, that Yasin Waswa drop goal. I think they copied, pasted, and didn't edit that Cobbs script. And then Cobbs switched up the script and managed to win with the last minute try. So I think when the Ginger Hippos come to town, it will be a different story. They have not just one but two bones to pick with the Cobs, having beaten them in the regular season in similar circumstances, last minute score, and also now in the semi-final. I think the Hippos will have a bone to pick with the Cobs when they come to Kampala on Saturday. Yes, they do. Actually, the Hippos, just that they weren't getting that what next right, and I think they're now getting it right because they have a very good scrum that can push. They always win all their lineouts and all their scrums, and when it comes to the backs, I think it is better that they play with Yasin Waswa at 10 instead of hiding him at 15, where he only comes out at the second line of attack to play as that second playmaker. But I think when they come to Kampala and their lineout has got their backs, their line have got their house in order, they can cause serious damage to their Cobs.
Okay.
In that game, overall, I think there was one player that was missing, that Hippos backline, and it was glaring that they are missing a scrum half. Aziz Bagana did not play that game. I think he was injured. An injury that I had, he picked up in one of these Good Friday things that they were playing, Easter weekend game and all that. But Hippos missed Bagana, one for his leadership and then also for his game reading. When you have Adnan Mtewi playing 80 minutes for Cobs, that it means there was not a lot of trouble that was caused for him to play that entire duration. Of course, you can talk of the substitutions that Charisma and his technical team made, some that were a bit questionable. I thought Bakasa went out so early. I thought Okedo went out so early. The change in that pack and the back was not really timely. Obviously, when a coach is making substitutions, you either bring your bomb squad or you're bringing to maintain what. But once substitutions started coming in for Hippos, even the momentum changed, and it was now Cobs dominating that second half. You can also point to the poor decision making to concede that try, by the way. From where I was standing, it was as if a referee Sauda had indicated that you're in the final minute of the game, and Hippos win a penalty, and then Yasin Waswa tries to kick for touch. He goes very far, and the ball does not go out, and it is fielded so well instead of finding touch. So he does not find touch with that final ball, and then Cobs come, put phase after phase after phase, and of course, because of the changes that had been made, they couldn't sustain. You know there is a problem when a winger is scoring from phase play at the posts. You know there is a lot of problems with how you're setting up your defense to have a winger score at the post from phase play.
All right, Joseph, quickly, do you think if Aredo had been available for that game, maybe Cobs would have got away with a bigger lead?
Yeah, I think Cobs would have won that comfortably, and I believed it from the one that they could have. First of all, Joseph Aredo is a very brilliant player. He covers from 9 to center to 15, and some of us were lucky to see him at 15. And if at all he comes back in this squad when they come to Legends, I think it is going to be a very different story for the Cobs, although I still maintain that the Hippos have a slight chance in that game.
Okay, so Cobs, quickly again, one word, Cobs or Hippos?
Cobs.
Frankly?
But the man just said the Hippos have a chance.
He said Hippos have a chance.
The man is not sure. Are you on the wall?
They have a slight chance.
Lockdown.
It is hard to say Hippos winning a game at Legends. Very, very hard. So, especially that, Aredo is going to be back in that number 10 role, or maybe they will bring Kemis up and then take Aredo to full back. By the way, Josiah Sempeke is not a 15. That was a failed trial, if I may say, a failed tactic from Mudola. I did not like how Sems played from the back of the pitch. I don't think he had enough command of his fellow backline. It changed a little bit with when I think was it Kemis that came in. It changed a little bit with how they played. So they might have to reconsider on who takes that number 15 jersey and the number 10 jersey at Legends. But obviously, Cobs should win that game.
All right. From the guys, Cobs Pirates, Cobs versus Pirates final. But there's a second leg that is going to happen this weekend, so we'll find out if their predictions are correct.
Yeah,
then,
Friday at Legends, Saturday Kings Park.
Yeah, Friday Legends and Saturday Kings Park. Going to be a busy weekend for your livers as well, I guess.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
most definitely. But I think I want to give the union some products, at least for this one. Here the squad, fans have an opportunity of watching all the semifinals.
Yeah.
The fans are not split in Dabeguno and all that. I think the fans have been given an opportunity to watch all the semifinals.
Yeah, flowers for you are there from Frank.
And I think personally, I'll be a bit selfish here. I don't know when. I haven't confirmed when the fixture between the Warriors and the Elgon Wolves will be, but I really hope it is on that very day, on Friday at 2 p.m. so that we see what would have been in Mbali, Faba Impis. Twagala kulaba whom are we replacing up there?
Joseph always has a moment to make sure it's our Impis. But I want to pick up on before we leave the rugby. Joseph coming up with his top signings for the season, top 5 picks for the season. I want you to take us through why you picked this 5 and not any other 5. A lot of unfamiliar names, but I want to be educated. I'm a very good student.
Allow me begin with the ones who are no longer in active contention right now since they got out from the quarterfinals. But I really think Israel Makoha was a very good signing for the Victoria Sharks. The season began off with him playing at center, and Paul Epilo was playing at 10 with Chewarabi at 9, and I felt like that wasn't a combination that is going to win you a game in 2025. Then Makoha went to 10, and of course Chewarabi maintained that 9 position because he's that good. And the Victoria Sharks games changed. They started winning games, and for their first season in the league to finish where they finished, that was quite impressive for them. Then my other pick is Kennedy Muhumza, formerly at the Impis. He came in and changed that center. He changed that center for the Buffaloes, because previously Liam Walker was playing that center alongside Ivan Odiambo. Then Odiambo got injured midway through the season, and that's when Muhumza sealed his position at the number 13. And throughout the whole season, of course, he's very well known for his defensive prowess, but in addition to his defensive play, he's also very good attacking wise, especially when he's carrying the ball. And now more of my top 5 signings of the season. I also have Ariho Muhumza, commonly known as Baker. He's that boy that puts on number 3 for the Pirates this season. I think he has only missed 1 game the whole season for the Pirates. He came into a front row that was, for lack of a better word, wanting, because the season front rows that they have, Didi has been away. Of course, Pajob is now a full-time life eater. Nathan got injured midway in there. But yeah, Muhumza came in, and even if you stick him up there with Samuel Luwama or Umar Daf, Muhumza will still sort of hold that scrum. However, what I want to see more of, and what I didn't see more of from him during the game on last Friday against the Heathens, was that ball carrying ability. He's a very good ball carrier, and I do not know why he's not being utilized in that ball carrying position, in those ball carrying scenarios. Then of course Eliphaz Emong, everyone knows what he brings to the table. He was obviously a shadow of himself when he was at Ginger Hippos, with a few memories and memes here and there. But now this is a change. This is a different Emong. This is a Emong who jumps on, and you know exactly what he brings to the table. This is a Emong that is on the bench, and you know it is trouble for the other team. If at all they haven't done all their work before he comes on, they definitely not going to do any work. That is in terms of attacking, and in terms of defense, he's a menace in those areas. Then I think the top boy himself, Andrew Odiambo, he has been the signing of the season. I don't know whether it was intentional for him to play the Safari Sevens in order to lock him down with that whole nationality thing, but he came from the Kenyan League, their championship, the Western Championship, went to the Hippos, was very good for them, brilliant 2 seasons there, and then he managed to get himself that move. A move that he got twice, by the way, because the first time he was supposed to move, he even announced that thank you Hippos for everything and all that. Then I think some changes happened. He was named a club leader, a club captain, and then after I think the move finally finalized, and then he had to say farewell once again. And now he's at the Cobs. He's doing very many good things for the Cobs, and I think those are my top 5 signings. The ones that I've watched multiple times this season. Maybe there are other top signings, but if I told you you have a very good signing and you haven't made it out of the bottom 4, then I don't think that signing has really been very useful for you.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. And I wanted to say that I've noticed from his top 5 signings, 2 of them are from the mighty Impis.
The gift that keeps on giving.
2 of them are from the mighty Impis. But then also, I mean, I think some very, very good names you've mentioned in there. Of course, if your team is not in the playoffs, then it begs to inform whether you are actually a very good
whether
signing.
you signed right.
Where you signed right. But two of the boys from Impis, did you guys get some money?
Yeah, there was, of course, some Kamani exchanged hands. Whether it
balls.
was enough, that is a question for another day. At least we are no longer settling for balls. But for me, for 2 balls,
Rugby
for 2
balls,
players. But for me, my highlight of that whole list, apart from Odiambo being the top performer in the signings, I feel like when Victoria signed Israel, there are very many other players that they signed in that window, going to Heathens and picking about 7 players, picking 5 from Cobs. They have about 5 former MPs players or current MPs players who are on loan over there. But for Israel to come from the program at Kakira, comes in, little known player, comes into the league, plays in a position which isn't his natural position, then finally goes to his natural position and produces the goods. I feel like that is quite commendable.
Dennis, before we wrap up this rugby, would you regard Sylvester as a signing because he barely played last season? Sylvester himself of Heathens, would you regard him as a signing?
I think he has been very brilliant, but he hasn't been a signing for this season. He came in last season from Chambogo, and he's still a very young man, a man that could possibly fill the shoes of his big brother Cyrus Watum. So he's one to watch. At least he would make it to the list of the top young players of the season, because the position he plays and the maturity he exudes, that's a boy for the future. One last side note, in the game against Pirates, when they got that yellow card, when the Heathens got that yellow card, Sylvester, who is a seasoned hooker, had to fill in that front row position, and he became the other prop, and they had to bring on a hooker to fill up that front row. So I think that is a player that is being relied on at that young age, and is definitely one for the future.
Yeah, I think Joseph has mentioned that he's coming up with a list of the best young players for the season, and we'll be waiting for that. But for now, if you can,
most certainly,
given that our resident expert has given us his top 5 signings for the season, let us know what you think about that list, or if you disagree with it, who are your top 5 signings from the rugby season this year. I'm sure this will be coming up on one of our socials. You can keep commenting and let us know who, and we shall make mention of your response on the next episode of the Weekly Woes. But that has been the rugby conversation. Make sure this weekend you don't miss the second leg of the semi-finals. Friday, Legends. Saturday, I think you just cross over instead of going home. Pack clothes for 2 days. Instead of going home, just cross over to Kings Park Arena for the second leg of the semi-final between Pirates and Heathens, and then Friday will be Ginger Hippos traveling to the Legends grounds to take on Cobs for the semi-finals.
We'll be hoping that hookers do some good job, because hooking has been pathetic.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that until Sunday, you may need to get leave for until Sunday for the conversations. But that has been our Joseph. You want to say something?
One last note from me. Interestingly, when Franklin was enjoying life across the river, I was also across the border, just at Boyogiri, watching the Black Pearls beating the Panthers, who the Panthers actually showed up in that game. And why I mention this is that it's because the Women's League has now resumed after that success in the Women's Africa Cup. So whenever and wherever you get time, please maybe make your way there, watch these players, because it informs you better when you see them in the black, yellow, red, when you've already seen them in their club colors.
Yeah, most certainly. Moving on to the basketball, this weekend, I saw it somewhere where someone said another City Oilers defeat. Sort of felt like a mean caption, but 4 defeats for them this season already, and people are starting to come up with creative headlines. They've been saving for the last I don't know how many seasons. But let's start with the Friday. JT Jaguars picking up on the KCCA Panthers. They are staying in touch, of course, with the Blazers, who are leading the table. And I don't know if that spells the doom for City Oilers, because they keep falling away from the leading pack. I'll start with Franklin.
You talk about the headlines and memes that people are coming up with for Stoke Oilers, and we were on one of our forums, the Giants, and somebody was saying you cannot be talking a title and Stoke Oilers in the same setting, because right now they are fast battling relegation. and I found that quite funny. But Stoke Oilers has had a difficult time, I think, because of the player turnover. The difference the three guys made for that team was immense. And obviously, the difference that Pet Parish made, there were signs last season, by the way, that this team is going to have a difficult time after the departure, because anybody who has been following the basketball knows for sure that if Pet Parish is not in that team in the playoffs, they are not playing as good as they did to win that championship. He made a massive difference for that team, and when he's away, the kind of players that you leave behind are not going to guarantee you winning, especially when you have Titus just returning from injury, and obviously Ivan Moise is out, and the only other player that you have is Fayed Bale, with the rest of the players really not there yet in terms of how Stoke Oilers plays. Obviously, Edgar Mnava is a good player, but he's not yet in sync with how Stoke Oilers play. And you're talking about the Benjamin Kaumi, Alawi Senkubuge. Obviously, we have known the shortcomings of Joseph Chuma, that if that shot is not on, he's literally not very useful on the floor. And you can see that with the kind of losses that they're accumulating, it's the inability of the players who are there to get productive in when times are tough. And when you have that kind of momentum going, every team will come to face the Oilers. We believe that Banova Kubika. And I think that is the phase where Stoke Oilers are at until they either make some changes or until they have a fully fit Titus Ruwal and Fayed Bale to create some sort of cohesion and some sort of meter to win games. At this point, whichever team that it feels is strong enough to go against the Oilers, they always come with a chance
with
I can
faith
actually
and
win
belief.
this game.
Yeah, with the faith and belief. And just a reminder that you can catch the National Basketball League live on Kawowo Sports, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on the action. But welcoming Kyle Edwin Kule, a resident basketball expert who watches a lot of basketball. JT Jaguars staying in touch. A fan of UCU. He has so many affiliations, but staying in touch with Namongo Blazers. Do you think they're also doing what they have to do just to make sure that, as you get to the business end, you sort of come together as a group and you know what you can do to get through those playoffs?
Yeah, surely. JT Jaguars have had a good campaign, and if you see how some of the young boys in that team are growing to become mainstays, then it gives you confidence that this is a side that is growing, because most of their guards are in their early 20s, and these are boys that have just come from DJ, have come from across the young sides of basketball to try and tap into the top tier, which I think they're doing well. And when you look at the likes of Were, the likes of Ian, these are players who are not getting most of the minutes as the team was growing. Maybe you might talk about Ian, but most of those players were not getting lots of minutes in the earlier campaigns. But now you feel the coach is now starting to trust them, giving them more assignments, and surely they are not disappointing. When you look at the addition of Peter Sifuma, who crossed from UCU Cannons, you see that there is a bit of experience added into that team, but also leadership. For me, I'm a bit disappointed with this team because it has lacked consistency. When you look on the other side of the page, that at some time they will come and show you that there are structures that are being created in the team. Then on the other hand, the game plan changes all of a sudden. And somehow it has also come to players that Sifuma will turn up on a certain day, and then all of a sudden you look for him in another game and he's nowhere to be seen. The other disappointment comes from Chuma, who is the big guy. You wonder why sometimes he fears. I don't know if I should call it fearing, but he doesn't want to score. He doesn't want to go and attack the rim. And you ask yourself, why are you hesitating? You have the body, you have the skill. Then try out, because on Friday he had a good game, but I do think that if he added the scoring onto his good game, then he could become a player we've all wished he can be.
Yeah, I mean, and I was also going to ask you, adding on to that, the situation at City Oilers, is it going to force the hand of the Mgaga that maybe the team needs, some players to help them step up and be the City Oilers that we know?
Of course, at the moment, anyone would clearly see that when you look at City Oilers, they are short of depth when it comes to the team, but also experience. Because when you looked at that City Oilers team, it always had players that you wish every team has, that if they are to be taken to other teams, then they go straight as starters. But at the moment, if you look at that team, there are few players you'd wish to take. I am a fan of UCU, but there are few players I would wish to cross to UCU. Because on any other day, I would not wish to take Rujumba. I would not wish to take Emmanuel. I would not wish to take most of those players, because I feel at UCU I have better players than those. Because if you're giving me Rujumba and I have Kaira, why am I taking Kaira on any other? Why am I taking Rujumba? So we are not seeing the City Oilers that we knew that always collects the best of young players, because while Fayed and Titus were concluding their education at UCU, they just crossed to UCU, and you felt there was that question that they are picking good players who have been the best at UCU to take them to their team. But currently, the way they handled their transfers, someone would ask, what were they calculating? Because the player that one of the players that I think they took that had a good season was Edgar. But still, when you look at these others, I'm one who thinks that Emmanuel has been a decent, let me use the word decent player, but is not that player that you'd want to say, okay, we've lost the big three in Oxy, in Jimmy, and then in Drileba. And so I'm now looking for experience. Then in all experienced players, you go for Emmanuel. Of course, many have come to argue out that he's been at the club before, so he knows the culture and everything. But still, when it comes to the skill set and what the player is going to offer, somehow you will feel it's the undoing. But like I've always loved to tell Franklin, and he laughs at me, I do believe this is the time for now the coach to earn his money. If you're using players that we all think are average, that we all think somehow need to be sharpened up, now this is the time. Show us that now I'm going to sharpen the blunt knives to try and cut something. Because we've seen coaches do this. I'll take you back to UCU. We've seen players come from across the country, and you feel they lack one or two things in the game. But one season or half a season, you see these players improve. So if you have Fayed Bale, you have Titus, you have Edgar, you have a few players that you think can act as pillars in this team, then now, Mr. Man, improve Rujumba. Let's see Rujumba, and then we see an improved player.
Is Edwin suggesting that Andrew Tendo is not a good coach, or he's failing at his?
Not
really. I'm not.
He has to earn his dime.
Yes.
Are you saying he's failing at his job?
No, I'm not saying that he's failing. But at this moment, whereby we have a moment of crisis, now we need someone to manage the crisis.
I mean, the team can play different because they don't have the same resources that they used to have in the past. And that will be down to the genius of the coach.
Exactly.
That's what he's trying to say.
By the way,
frankly, I wanted to ask you that this is not a bad thing for basketball per se, because in the past where there was only one good game a season between Blazers and City Oilers, now you have a whole fixture list that is interesting because you can pick out as many as 5 or 6 very good games each game day.
If you put that question to Edwin, he'll say it is a bad thing because it means the Mgaga is going to get into the deep pockets, and
which is scaring.
which scares him. But
I'm thinking about it in
a broader perspective,
in a commercial way.
In a commercial way. Look, many fans have been yearning for other teams to play better. I would say at this point, other teams are not playing better. It is just that the Oilers have gotten worse or have gotten bad, if I may put it that way. Of course, is that good for basketball? Yeah, it is good. It in a way builds confidence in other teams that, look, we can now compete with the best that there has been in the country for the past decade. And regardless of the personnel that is there, they have been winning for the last 10 years. So getting anything off the 10-time defending champions, regardless of the personnel that is there, it's always good for basketball. It always brings this hope to the players, to the other players that, look, I think now we can go toe-to-toe with these guys and all that. But outside of that, when you're looking at just the results in general, I don't think the results tell that Still Oilers is as bad as the results say. We're losing 4 games of 5. That is not Still Oilers, like, because for guys that have been playing, I mean, you would say Edgar Mnava is grown up enough as a player. Obviously, Fayed and Titus have grown up enough as players. Emma has played for a long time in this league. Benjamin Kamumi and of course Alawi have been with the setup for the past 2-3 seasons. Madia has been with the setup for the past 2-3 seasons, and these are the same guys that have been on the fringes of the star players. And you'd think this is now the time, as he talks about the coach stepping up, but also this should be the time for players to also step up, like Katechintu Chafi. Okay, while you want the coach to become a tactical genius, as a player you should also take initiative. That, look, right now it's my turn. You cannot complain of the minutes, because while you've been playing 15 minutes, now your minutes have been elevated to 25 or 30.
Yeah. What
are you doing with the extra 15 minutes that you've been granted? You know, as a player, obviously you need to take initiative, and with all due respect, I don't think Benjamin Kaum being the control of the possessions has paid off a lot. I think he's at this point, you would say he's not a top player. He's not ready to play at the top level yet. Of course, Alawi has not gotten into it yet. Edgar Mnava is not into this all kind of playing game. So there is a lot of disconnect within the group of players in terms of, as far as playing is concerned. Okay, everybody's going to go and get what they can get, but there is no connection of getting a fluid basket, because ideally, as we were talking about, you cannot be losing to JT Jaguars, you cannot be losing to KCC, you cannot be losing to JKL that they lost to yesterday. Of course, you cannot be playing the best game against non-Blazers that is almost like 2-3 times stronger than the teams that you've lost to. I think that should say a lot with about the players and not necessarily about the coach, because if you can compete that hard against non-Blazers, should be able to be even better against teams that are lesser than them.
Yeah.
So I think it is more playing than coaching.
I think that's the point that Edwin was making, that the whole unit has to step up to just take them to the next level. And a reminder that you can watch the National Basketball League on Kawowo Sports every Wednesday night, Friday night, and even Sundays. So make sure you go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and make sure you will not miss out on all the action from our resident experts when the National League Basketball League happens. But parking the league for now, I want to talk about the draws came out for the Afrobasket for the ladies. Uganda pitted against Senegal and Guinea.
Yep.
Starting with Kyle, your expectations from that Afrobasket group?
Of course, at the when I look at the draw, I was not so excited to see Senegal in our group, but then
Did you want Nigeria?
no, that is the team I fear most, by the way. And if possible, God should send Nigeria a bit away from our fixtures until maybe semis or finals. But I think, first of all, for starters, the group is fair. When you look at Senegal and Guinea, the group is fair. Looking at Senegal, this is a side that we beat in the Afrobasket. I think that was 2023 down in Kigali. But somehow one will believe that at that moment we came in as underdogs. So on the second meeting, you don't think they will take you lightly as they took you in that game. Then when you look at Guinea, we managed to beat them still. So I think it's another side that we can easily go past. But the challenge is that they've bit of switched the format that the top teams in the group will go straight. And so
Straight where?
Straight to the semifinals.
straight to the semifinals.
Quarterfinals.
To the quarterfinals. So these other two have to match up in another game. So now it creates a scenario that if you beat Guinea the first time, they have a chance to repay if at all they are the two that I have to, if at all they are the two teams that are struggling for that second slot, which makes it a tight call. But again, it gives you a chance that even though you lose the two, for starters, you still have a chance to go on and fight for that slot to go out of the groups.
Yeah, for Franklin, do you think this is a group that we can get out of, top the group and go straight to the quarterfinals without having to go through the rotary of playoff games?
At this point, you'd say no. When we played Senegal in Kigali, Senegal barely knew us. I think we got them off guard, but that does not mean that Uganda is not good enough a team to play at that level. But I think in terms of if there is a team in the group whose win is going to be extremely significant, it has to be Senegal, because I'm certain the winner of that game between Uganda and Senegal will most definitely top that group, because again, in terms of a player personnel, I think the Gazelles have gotten better, if I may put it that way. I think with the addition of, I'm hoping, and this is not certain, of course, I'm hoping Retaru is going to be part of the team. She's been at Grayson this past season of college. Of course, the addition of Amanio, a Polish Amanio, who has been at UTEP, University of Texas at El Paso. The addition of those two players, who are a bit now polished with some college experience and playing at in some of the good college basketball in the US, I think is going to make our team a little bit better. Obviously, Babidi got into college as well, so she will come back better. We all seen what Axel has been doing locally, but not questionable. And look, I feel we're going to put out a good team. The only prayer is that we have an extended training camp of maybe 2-3 weeks, a training camp of to get everything together. 3 weeks would be ideal, 3-4 weeks would be ideal, but I feel that this team is good enough to challenge at the Afrobasket. And the belief is that, for me personally, if the draw does not get us Nigeria, this team can go, I think, up to the semifinals. I don't think any other teams that are not Nigeria, Senegal, can get us into deep trouble. So you go into the game like this is we're starting on the back foot and all that. I feel the confidence that this team got in Kigali is good enough to build on. Obviously, Jenna Sinde going pro, of course, she has improved and she's a better player. Obviously, Akulu going pro. Obviously, they are now professional players who understand the business now. You know, it is not just for fun, and you want to believe that these are players that can lift the team.
Semi-final.
But Dennis, just to give Franklin more hope, at least the president has come out to confirm that the team will have a 2-week training, but also sort of a tournament that has been organized by Egypt. So we expect the team to move to Cairo for 2 weeks earlier than the tournament, which I think if they play those games, they have some good time to have a unit as a team, but also to play against some of the countries that we expect to meet in the Afrobasket, which makes it all better. But I still have a hand on my chest to say, when I look at some of the local players that are part of that team, to mention Becky, Longoma, and Shakira, they're not looking sharp enough for the games that we've played so far. How I pray. But I'm saying how I pray that they get back into their mood, because you want to look at some local stars and say, okay, if this team is making us proud, then there's a player that I can
relate with.
Yes, a player I've already seen at YMCA. And
by the way, the girls that you see in college have played there before. Okay,
they just moved on.
They just got opportunities. Amani and Letaru were playing here at KIU.
Yeah.
Babide was at Watoto. Who else? Obviously, Lamunu played there at KCCA. Who else? Jen played there at JK just last season to win that championship. So these are not like
new faces.
No, girls that were born outside Uganda.
Frankly,
they are grown up here.
I'm not calling them aliens of a kind.
Pretty much local.
I'm not calling them aliens of a kind.
He wants to see the ones
but frankly, now, you see now those with Tuba JK Ngalo. Let me use that word. Now we want to push more. But when I look
the
back,
exposure worked well for the others, so
exactly. So if we ship more, it works for us. Yeah. So I want to see more local players that I think already have an entry ticket in this team to up their game.
Okay, finishing quickly. Semi-final prediction for Franklin, Kyle. One word: semi-finals, finals. Are we going all the way?
For me, I think we can go out of the group, and maybe if we set the semi-final to be the target. No, I think we should set the semi-final to be the target. If we can be in the top 4 of the continent, then that's a good fit for Uganda.
Well, what happens for the win? What happens to the win of the Afrobasket? Is it just bragging rights or
there's a next step? Qualification ticket for the next Afrobasket. Usually World Cup is qualifiers.
Okay. Yeah. So if you finish among the top 4, you automatically come back next year or something?
Yes.
The top 4 teams return next year. We don't have to go through the qualification.
The hopes of qualification.
All right. Big stakes
But if we are not playing Nigeria at the quarterfinals.
Big stakes for bring on the Ogas. Even at the quarterfinals, we could beat them. But the Gazelles have our pride and our support as they make Uganda proud at the Afrobasket tournament. It will be happening later on this year in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. I hope you guys are sharpening your French, because you need a lot of help getting around, ordering Ubers or even finding food. But the ladies will be in Abidjan, and as they make us proud, and hopefully they can do well. Their group has Senegal and Guinea, and of course, like Franklin and Kyle have highlighted,
and
Senegal and Nigeria are one of the favorites in the tournament.
Because Uganda beat those teams in the previous one, they know now Bakuvika.
Yeah, they know a thing about us, a thing or two about us. So we're also vulnerable in that way.
Yeah.
But hopefully that the girls can make us proud and do well. Our final conversation today will be about, and very, very quickly, about the draws that have been made this morning for the Uganda Cup semi-finals. KCCA pitted against Mbale-based Kataka, while Vipers will be taking on the defending champions Chitara. I'll start with Kyle, and very, very quickly, what do you make of that semi-final draw?
Very interesting for me to say, because it takes back KCC out of the central region, which has been more like the storyline all throughout the tournament till date. So KCC will have a chance to go down to Mbale to take on a very controversial side in Kataka. One, you have to know that this is a side that has just been sanctioned, and a few of their players have been slapped with a few fines here and there. So you find them in a state of bit of quagmire. So KCC have at least a step ahead to say, in a season that has looked to be shabby, this is a chance to at least give our fans a reason to smile, which I think on paper, Kataka looks to be the easier side than the two. KCC, no KCC fan would like to face Chitara at this moment for what happened in Hoima. Kati aba KCC babera batya Chitara. So yes, they were very happy.
I'm the host of this show.
Yeah, but no, I'm trying to be fair to our viewer out there. So when you look at the draw that pitted Vipers against Chitara, I think that is going to be the most interesting matchup.
Yeah,
knowing that Vipers still have to visit Chitara in the UPL as their second last game. This only makes it more interesting that they now have to play Chitara 3 times. Now it goes back to Vipers. Is it possible that Vipers can win all the 3, or is it possible that they can squeeze and go past Chitara, maybe drawing one and winning the other? Or can Chitara decide to say, no, we are going to spoil your party in the UPL and then also chase you out of the Uganda Cup? Remembering that Chitara are the holders of this. So surely that is going to be the most interesting matchup.
Yeah, a difficult fixture for the defending champions. And you don't know if Chitara can reign on the Salongo parade for Vipers.
Yeah.
But frankly, now, what do you make of that? The first legs, KCC has the first home advantage, and then they will visit. The games are starting this weekend. KCC are hosting Kataka, and then Vipers also hosting Chitara before Chitara hosting Vipers for the second leg. And most times, depending on how the first leg went, I can come and play haram football and take a 1-0 loss and go home and then finish the job. But and then Kataka, for them, they will need to be very careful on the carpet. They don't want to go back home when KCC is heading 4-0 in the tie.
Yeah.
But for Chitara, a couple of their players suspended because of what happened in the quarterfinal between themselves and Bull.
Yeah.
They'll be missed most definitely. But can Chitara, hold on to their own title?
Look, at this point in the season, Chitara and KCC for sure know that the only way to get into the continent is by winning the cup. Okay, and for Chitara it is even more obvious, having tested the success already and gone to the continent. I think everybody around the team would want them to return to the continent. At least they have the lessons now of what happens at the continent. And Vipers are going to be, I think, to face a team that, for lack of a better word, that does not, in a way, come into the game already fearing that, look, this is a done deal, we're going to be beaten and that kind of stuff. I think you expect Chitara to compete. Boss, the coach, is a competitive guy. He always wants to win these big games. And that is where I find pride.
I love these words when just after learning of the draw, he said, I'm promising Chitara fans we have to be in the finals. And he ended the interview from there.
And that is Bosa. I think Bosa always wants to win these big games. These are the games that give him joy as a coach.
And I think he also has had the experience of success with Express.
Yeah.
So for sides like Vipers and KCC, he's never faced by the occasion.
Yeah. And for two-leg affairs like this, all you want to do is just get a result away from home.
Exactly.
Get a draw or a small margin win, and then you can do whatever. You finish the business in Hoima. Edwin knows what happens.
We are going to Hoima. I have to watch these games.
what happens in Hoima? But also on the other tie is that I don't think Kataka in a good place right now. They've been used to playing the rumble in one leg, hold on, and it's done. Now, a two-leg affair, you may go to Mbali when you're 3 down. It becomes hard, you know, because you're not going to come to Lugoga and defend the entire time.
Yeah, I sort of feel it is advantage KCCA that they can go all out in their home league.
Exactly.
And just go and be just be conservative away from home. And
exactly. Because knowing how Ugandan football is, all you want is to make sure you win your home league. And KCCA is capable of winning that game 3-0 or 3-1 or even scoring 4. Because if the thing with KCCA playing at home is that when they get started, when they start scoring, against especially smaller sides, they can put in 3, 4, 5 quite easily, and you'd think that would be the mindset of everybody that will go, well, let's have this home leg sorted, so that by the time we go to the away leg, they need to score very, very many goals. All
right, predictions for the first leg of the semifinals. Kyle, I'll start with you. I'm putting you guys on the spot this week. KCCA Kataka. You don't need to mention the scoreline.
A win for KCC.
Vipers Kitara at St. Mary's.
A draw.
Okay. Scoring draw or goalless draw?
It might be a goalless draw.
Okay. Franklin, KCCA Kataka.
I think KCCA is going to win 3-0 at Lugogo.
And Vipers
and Vipers and Kitara are going to be 1-1. It is very hard to stop, to keep and stop Vipers from scoring at home. But if Kitara to progress or to take a result at home that they can work with, it has to be a draw.
All right, you've heard it from the guys. Please, I would like to remind all our viewers that this information is just for this show. Do not use it for other things. But the guys have given you predictions for the first leg of the semifinals of the Uganda Cup that will be happening this weekend. Home advantage for KCCA when they take on Mbale-based Kataka, while Vipers will be hosting Kitara at the St. Mary's Stadium in Chitende. So a lot of action and sports to look up to this coming week that is very, very defining. The first legs will be played on May 3rd, which is a Sunday. Will both games be in the evenings? Because both teams like to play night football. That will be interesting.
Yeah, but the dates have not been confirmed. We only know that they will be played around, but they are not yet confirmed. Of course, Paul Karamu has come out to say there are few things that are going to change with the UPL because
just to try and fit in this.
Yes, to try and fit in, because they want Vipers to go down to Hoima when they are ready to play. They are going to be put to play 2 games, so they will have to play the Uganda Cup game and then play the UPL game. So we might see a few things to change.
Yeah, not a bad idea in terms of cost, but when you're playing 2 games that can define your season in a space of days, that can also, you need some mental resilience to be able to.
It's the repeat of what happened last season. Yeah. It was the same thing, though at that time we were at the point of quarterfinals. So Vipers lost the quarterfinals and they were eliminated from the Uganda Cup and then won the UPL game.
Wow, they are going to be very, very interesting how that happens. But most certainly, if you keep it Kawowo Sports, you will know of the dates for those particular clashes. But that has been our time on another interesting episode of the Weekly Woes. Today we spoke a lot of rugby and as well as basketball. So for our rugby followers and basketball people, I hope you'll be happy with us this week, because we made sure that we spend a lot of time speaking about basketball and rugby as well. But I've had Franklin Kawowo, our editor at Kawowo Sports, Edwin Kaikule, a writer with Kawowo Sports, Joseph Mohums, who had to step away, and I've been your weekly host, Dennis Musali. 2 reminders for you. One is to make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on the National Basketball League that we bring to you every week when the action is available. But the one and the most important of them all, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports. That has been our time, and we'll see you again next week.
There is a Ugandan. You don't go to Hoima, go in a helmet. ng'olina black salt
Nze ngenda genda ewoyiba.
ng'olina bayibuli